if you get pregnant, it's like kind of your own fault.
Because
I think as a woman, I do take it on myself because obviously I don't want to get pregnant, but I don't think it's all in the woman. I think it's definitely 50-50.
I'll tell you, I'll give you my opinion why I think it's on a woman. Because unless it's a grape situation, you let him inside you, okay? And you have, remember, my body, my choice, right? That's what we're told. So it's your body. So it's your choice to let a man inside you, right? And you know the consequences of letting a man inside you. Yes or no? Right.
Yeah,
so this man could be reckless. It's just like this home. If we let somebody in the door right now and they run in here and they go crazy, right? That's on us because we let them in. We didn't vet them properly before we let them in, right? So if you didn't vet the person properly before you let them in, that's on you. That's what they're going to say.
Okay, so if I choose that I don't want to be on the pill or all the other options, and I decide that I want you to wear a condom, and then you don't wear a condom, is that on me as well?
Hang on.
How do
you're going to let him inside you without one?
You didn't notice?
But what I'm saying is, if you trust, you're already having sex, so there's already a sense of trust between you. So obviously, I don't know, I'm just giving a random example. If it is in the dark or whatever, and you do it,
you're
and then
talking
it
about
happens.
stealthing.
Yeah. Stealthing is a thing.
Stealthing is like a minuscule percentage of what happens during sex.
And my question,
no, it was more my
my question is like, why didn't you vet the guys better you're sleeping with? You shouldn't be sleeping with a guy you don't trust.
Why didn't you vet any of us?
But I'm saying in this particular example, you did trust that person, and you have, and some is also he can lie. So I might have felt like I'd vetted him well enough to be in that position, but obviously you find out later it's not the truth.
What percent do you feel like that is? Do you feel like that's the majority?
No, not at all. I was actually just asking what your opinion was in that particular scenario.
I think when we have these conversations, what people generally tend to do is to try to bring the exceptions more so than the rule. And it's like, normally on this show, we try to argue the rule more so than the exception, because there's always going to be exceptions to things, right? So it's like, okay, dogs bark. Some dogs are got something wrong with their, their boys, and they don't bark. But generally, dogs bark. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if people keep arguing for the dogs that don't bark, it's like, well, dogs bark. We already know dogs bark.
Well, and I would still say it's on you because you chose not to be on birth control.
There's why women don't go on birth control.
Yeah, there's 41 forms of birth control. So, and if you don't want to do that, you can get married.
I think it's actually the guy's fault if the girl gets pregnant.
Go for it.
Because it's the guy's fault. Because I mean, even the pull-up method alone is 97% effective when done right. So, unless you want to be paying child support, like, you should get better at that. And then the other thing is, like, guys should always carry condoms. Because you never know when you get lucky, right?
But my thing is, a guy can do everything right, and a girl can still steal it. Like, the NBA issues statements every year.
Then he didn't do everything right.
What?
He didn't do everything right. You should flush that thing. Take it with you when you leave.
Yeah, good point.
So
That's
I think
yeah.
if I had a son, I would tell him, hey, if a girl gets pregnant, it's 1,000,000% your fault. If I had a daughter, I'd say, if you get pregnant, it's 1,000,000% your fault. And everybody, whether a boy or girl, it's 100% your responsibility what happens in your life.
I think it's more on the girl because we have more power.
Right.
We have more power than men do in every instance. And if we get pregnant, we can still get an abortion where men have no say in that.
And if the child is born, you can put it up for adoption.
Yeah.
That's not a man doesn't have a say. A man doesn't have a say in whether or not.
And so I don't know how you
men generally don't have a say.
Can honestly
the
say,
woman
like,
has a say.
But it just doesn't make any sense
because that's the way the law works.
It's still going to be the guy's responsibility as well, like, and the girls, both of them individually, right?
I'm not saying as a man that we don't have responsibility. I'm not taking responsibility off the man. I'm saying you got to protect your womb. You are head of security for your own vagina, right? Because we know that push comes to shove, you're left with a baby. A guy could run he could dip out.
Which is why girls are more selective when choosing partners traditionally, right?
Exactly. I'm saying that's why it's on you, because I'm not condoning men like running away from their responsibilities, by the way. But I'm saying worst comes to worst, it's on you, girl. It's not on me. I can dip out. So that's why I said women have to now start vetting the men that are coming inside them.
It's a smart choice to vet. Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Justin, it looked like you wanted to say a lot earlier.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just thinking, like, so I've gotten ex-girlfriends of mine pregnant, not just once, like many times, and every single time it's like 100% been my fault, right? I was like young or drunk or just like being unsafe, or I trusted what the woman was telling me. One time, I had a one-night stand in Australia, and she told me she was on birth control. Turns out she was lying, right? Or I had an ex-girlfriend who told me she has a medical issue and she can't get pregnant, and she actually got pregnant, and every single one of them got abortions. But regardless, it was not just traumatic for me; it was traumatic for them, obviously. But in the end, it was completely my fault because I was being young and dumb and reckless.
Well, I'm gone back to how many women you've had abortions, but I'm like, my head is spinning as to how many women you've had abortions.
But you've also just held yourself accountable to all of that.
I don't think it's entirely my fault, right? And from a different perspective, you can say it was completely theirs.
You just completely held yourself accountable, and I
don't not believe in accountability. Like, I think that's great. I just think at this point in time, like, women have more power when it comes to reproduction.
I do agree,
and so that's why
because
I'm saying
they're the only ones that have wombs.
Right, exactly. So be careful who you let inside there, because I don't have a womb, and all the women here do. Right, so. If all the women here have wombs, they have to be more careful because, like I said, worst comes to worst. You were saying you got drunk and you had sex with this girl, but she let you inside her, drunk,
and she lied.
And she told me she had birth control.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, she had more power in that situation, right? Because she got to pick if she was on birth control or not, and then she was able to lie to you and basically trick you.
It's true.
And so, like, how can you say you had more power in that situation?
I think I should have known better. She was a stranger, right? Like, she was a complete stranger. I just met this girl, right? I don't remember her name.
And
right?
so what's stopping me from having intercourse with a girl and saying I've had a vasectomy?
Nothing.
So that which completely shifts that power balance.
Because one is more accessible than the other. One is much more accessible than the other.
The 41 forms of birth control you speak of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's more accessible.
That's more accessible, and you don't have to get surgery to get it.
There are a lot of side effects to birth control, though, especially hormonal. Especially if you kind of have predisposition to hormonal imbalance, it can cause a lot of negative side effects. Even the non-hormonal ones can cause really a lot of pain, like a lot of discomfort and that sort of thing. So the choice to not be on birth control can actually be attributed to the fact that there's a lot of difficulty with being on birth control.
I understand that, and I'm not discounting that. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons to not be on birth control, but my thing is, like, we have more power when it comes to reproduction, because even if you do get pregnant, who has the power to get an abortion? We do. And even if we have the kid, who has the power to give it up for adoption? We do. And even if we keep the kid, who has the power to get a guy on child support? We do. And then who also has the option to get married to the guy and then leave and take half? We do. So, like, when it comes to reproduction, we just
men
have a lot
don't have much power when it comes to reproduction. they can ejaculate.
This is fucking absurd.
Do you not think there's some
But hang on, sorry. Articulate that. Just articulate it. That's what we want. Articulate it. You can say it's absurd, but articulate it.
The entire argument's a complete logical fallacy. You're arguing that the women have more power because they have reproductive organs. That's it doesn't make any sense.
You're speaking from the perspective of a man, though. You don't have a womb.
Of course I am. I was the one that raised that point earlier.
Right, exactly. So if you speak to women and ask women, after we've actually had this argument, do they think that they have more power than we do? Would you say yes or no?
What kind of
No, I'm asking the women. Do you think you have more power than us when it comes to reproduction?
Ask the question again.
As a woman, do you think you have more power when it comes to reproduction than men do? As in a baby being born.
So you're talking about power as in power to keep the baby, not have the baby, get the baby fostered or adopted, or I think that power's been put on women. I think that there's a lot, bringing up the womb, people letting people in the womb, but your sperm should be quite important in this.
So the question I asked was, do women have more power than men?
Do women have the final say?
Yeah.
No.
So men have the final say?
So it's not your body, your choice anymore.
I think when it comes to a baby, it takes two to tango. And I think that there's two people who have made this baby. Two people have a decision to make together as to what's in the best interest of the two people and the possible baby.
Okay, so using that, I'll say, okay, so it's two to tango. Okay, you get pregnant. I have sex with you. You get pregnant. I say, I don't want a baby.
Great, me neither.
No, what I'm saying, me saying that, do I have the power to stop it?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have the power to stop you from having a child.
I think men now have a
But
lot of
Because it's
having that
your
conversation.
because,
So
because it's your body, your choice.